LifeCON letter number 23. Dear Mr. Fisher, I was one of the 8th graders at the middle school who attended your assembly. It was on a Tuesday when the 8th graders used that time to finish our homework and read. To tell you the truth, I was annoyed. I had a bit more homework than usual, so that time would have been beneficial. I grumbled. I inferred what the assembly was about and thought, well, I'm thankful to the school for doing all of this for their students, but more pep talks aren't going to help. More time to do homework will actually help. I believe it was the speaker from last year returning to talk about self-esteem and making sure we believed in ourselves. Then I walked in the gym to see a young man with his cap on backwards, some jeans and a hoodie. I was like, okay, this might not be boring. My guess wasn't too far off. You began your story. You were purposeful, but not too formal. So you caught my attention. I am one to worry about my appearance, about what others think, and I didn't think that could ever get out of hand. I was shaken to hear how easy it was to escape the anxiety with drugs and alcohol. I hope I will never stoop that low and take drugs and alcohol. And when I saw how a young bright boy like you had fallen for it, it made me feel more cautious, less confident, like 100% confident that I would do so. It was also quite hard for you to become fully sober, which was no surprise. I play and love basketball. So if your story effect on me was strong, how turning to drugs and alcohol ruined your initial basketball career. Of course, that didn't stop you from going to college basketball when you were 28, 29, and 30 years old. Smiley face. It especially resounded in me how you used your time in jail, your punishment, into the greatest reward in life. You used your lowest actions and bounced off of it to create new opportunities for yourself. Your story is amazing, and I thank you for coming to our middle school and sharing it. It wasn't boring at all, and you inspired me to take action instead of dreaming inside my head. I will use your speech to make good choices, and especially want to thank you for your 5 keys. Accountability, goals, good choices. I don't remember this one well, perseverance and faith. I will incorporate them in my life. I also wanted to mention something a few sentences back. It is absolutely astounding that you went from drugs to jail to getting the President's Award at college. Sorry if I got your award wrong. It only matters that I know you got the highest, most amazing award. Thank you so much for coming to our middle school to share your incredible story with me. I'll use it to change my life for the better. Sincerely. And then he makes a bunch of smiley face. First off, I couldn't have written a letter like this at 8th grade. Heck, I couldn't have written a letter like this until I was 23. This young man is incredibly intelligent. And for him to take the time when he obviously stated he didn't want to be there. He thought he had better things to do. He thought it was the returning speaker and he didn't want to see them again because he didn't get anything out of it. Now, I will say this. I've been at schools where I've spoken back to back years. And I've had students come up to me and say, hey, Mr. Fisher, I just want to be honest with you. Last year's speech didn't do anything to me. But this year it did. So even if that speaker didn't make an impact that last year on him, they might have this year. Because every student goes through something different each and every single year. You go through your own experiences, your family goes through stuff, your parents might be fighting or going through a divorce or whatever may be happening, and then things start to hit you and then impact you differently. But this young man mentions the 5 keys and writes them out and knows what they all are. And then on top of that, remembers the detail of the President's Award and remembers the actual 5 keys. Remembers how old I was, 28, 29, and 30, playing college basketball as an inmate, which had never been done before. So yeah, my story is one of one. Nobody's ever played college basketball as an inmate. Nobody. People have played on probation. And there's a gentleman that right now is about to play on parole. But parole and ISP and being an inmate on inmate status is a whole different ballgame. Parole in Colorado means you're done. Parole is closer to probation than it is ISP. ISP means that you go back for the remainder of your sentence plus parole. So at the time, I still had 7 years left on my prison sentence. So if I screwed up during my ISP time, I went back to prison for 7 years before I'd be eligible to go back to parole. So you want to talk about pressure? That was pressure. 1 minute that I'm late. If I don't check in my house at 8 o'clock, the first month or two I had ISP, and I check in my house and my ankle monitor doesn't click off at 8:01, I'd go back to prison. Not jail, not probation, not parole, prison. Just for being a minute late to my own house after going to classes or going to a basketball game or practice, trying to better myself, but 1 minute late, I go back. And again, this is letter number 23. Every one of them's different. Every one of these letters has a different vibe to it, a different thought process. Most of them have some of the same similarities, but told in a different perspective. So again, I'm so frustrated at myself. Because every day I'm not doing my job. I'm letting students down. I'm letting inmates down. I don't want to do corporate speaking. I don't. I could care less. Because corporate speakers, it's red carpet stuff. That's why people want to do it. I don't want to do that. That's not why I do this job. I do this job to help people. I don't do this job to stand on stage and have my picture taken and want to be on stage with all the bright lights and flashy people. I don't want to be a part of all that stupid bullshit. I don't. I could care less. And what's sad is people don't respect the work that I do. Especially other speakers. Because the reality is, most of those speakers, if they stood in front of this same audience, the same exact thing, 90% of them wouldn't even care about what they said. They wouldn't. You might get 5 or 6 letters, not thousands. Now there are, don't get me wrong, there's some really amazing youth speakers out there. But they're few and far between. They are. I can't tell you how many schools I've gone to where the principal was like, these kids ain't gonna listen to you. On the first 30 seconds to a minute into my speech, you can hear a pin drop after they were so rowdy and yelling and screaming and making fun of me while I was walking up the stage. And then as soon as I start speaking, they shut up and they listen. Not on their phones, not giggling. Yeah, out of a crowd of 1,000, you might get 3 or 4 that are still giggling, but the truth is, those 3 or 4 are going to be the ones that come down to me and talk at the end because they weren't able to handle the content. Because that would have been me. I wouldn't have come down and talked though, because I would have been too scared and shy. No matter if it was some cool NBA basketball player, I would have been too scared to come down and talk to him. It's crazy. I'm only on letter 17 for inmates and 23 for students. And you think about the content that I've already provided and the stories that I've already heard from these students just after 23 letters. I have thousands of them. Now, a lot of the ones that I have on my cell phone and text and social media are shorter because it's all written in social media terms and they're smiley faces or emojis or whatever they are. And the conversation's a little bit shorter than handwritten letters. But the impact is even greater on those because they actually go straight to the point. They don't write a half a page. They get straight to the point and say, I was thinking about taking my life last night, and after seeing you speak, I want to live. I've got thousands of those. Thousands of comments like that. And here I am, mad and angry because I'm not doing my job. Can't even